The How to Train Your Dragon film series is my favorite IP to ever come from DreamWorks. Yeah, more than Shrek and Kung Fu Panda, though I love the latter to death too. Loosely adapted from the series of children's books by Kushida Cowell, the franchise is proof that DreamWorks movies can be on the same caliber as their competition. With its marvelous animation, endearing and creatively designed characters, and strong, fun, and even thought-provoking narratives. The first movie was a high-flying, fire-breathing adventure that established the world, characters, and the pace and tone of the series. The only thing holding it back is the uninventive conflict. You have a strict no-nonsense parent and a child who discovers a new way of life, and they come to blows over their differing ideologies. The same old, same old. The second movie secures a place among the great sequels in film thanks to a more layered and mature narrative, a tenser and stricter conflict, great emotional stakes, and an evolution in the animation. How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World is the third and final installment in the film series and possibly the whole franchise's canon. At least its main one, which might or might not include the animated shows. I've not seen that many discussions about the movie since its announcement, with all the buzz mostly circling Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. I remained excited for the movie. I loved the first two movies, so this was natural. With two fantastic movies already under their belt, it's safe to assume that DreamWorks will hit this one out of the park and end the series with a swan song. Having seen it myself back in January, I can safely say, they did. The Scandinavian land of Berk has thrived into a paradise where humans and dragons coexist with each other. Both races now know a time of peace that just feels perfect. Yet it's the things that are too good to last that always wind up the most fragile. When an impending threat unlike anything the Berkians have faced before threatens their way of life, it's up to the young chief Hiccup and his budding companion, the Night Fury Toothless, to find a way through. And sometimes, the only way is the hardest. But Dragon Slayers aren't all that Berk has to worry about, as an unfamiliar face hailing from a secret land of dragons wins Toothless's heart and tests the mettle of his friendship with Hiccup. A synopsis that dense means that the movie itself is dense. To no one's surprise, it is a densely packed movie. For the most part, it manages this daunting juggling act relatively well. The series is known for its lovingly rendered and breathtaking animation, and How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World is the zenith of the series animation. This is a richly detailed film, not just in lore, but visuals too. From each blade of grass, to each cloud in the sky, to each body of water, to the scales on the dragons, the animators have gone to meticulous and painstaking extents to make every scene of the movie feel alive, and it's beautiful. Like the animation, the characters that you've come to know over an 8-year course have really grown as well. It feels like yesterday that Hiccup was but a timid and meek adolescent living in the shadow of his more forward, disciplined, and respected father Stoic. And the same can be said about his friendship with Toothless, which had its rocky beginnings. Watching these characters grow alongside each other every step of the way is very fulfilling. That's what I love most about the How to Train Your Dragon series. The development is meaningful, satisfying, and treated diligently. The storytelling is also exemplary. The primary plots of the movie are given equal amounts of focus, allowing them to develop at a natural and even pace. And on top of this natural progression, these plots seamlessly come together for a truly impressive, dramatic, and fulfilling climax, fitting for the final film in a fantastic trilogy. How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World continues the traditions that have made the series so remarkable. But as always, even something as fantastic as this movie does have its drawbacks. A curious pattern you'll see very shortly is that the movie's faults seem to be an unfortunate consequence of its best aspects. Now I want to reaffirm that yes, the film's animation is beautiful, the level of detail, the actual animation on each character and object, they're great, they're stunning, they're immersive. But the film can get too wrapped up in its immersion and detail. One example is the opening scene. It's meant to be Hiccup leading his dragon-riding clan into a stealth mission to rescue a number of dragons that have been held captive by a band of hunters. That's just fine, and it sets the tone for the whole film. What isn't fine is the lighting being so damn dark and everyone, and I mean everyone, being clad in black, rendering them indistinguishable from one another. There's sucking in your audience with your intricate level of detail, and then there's being so absorbed in detail that you don't leave enough room for the audience to make heads or tails of what's happening. By a similar token, the plot and story are well constructed in general. Change is a central theme to How to Train Your Dragon. The first film dealt with the Burkean lifestyle changing to fit both the dragon and human races. The second film was about Hiccup assuming his rightful claim as Berk's next chief as part of his transition from boyhood to adulthood, and this one continues the pattern. Change is a stronger and more deeply embedded theme in the Hidden World compared to the last two films. Between Toothless befriending and courting a previously unknown Light Fury, Hiccup possibly letting his best friend go, and the Burkeans having to move to a home more inhabitable for them and their dragons, the Hidden World shakes up the status quo more than the first two films. That being said, it does revisit old territory for a fraction of the time. Hiccup needs to trust in his ability as a leader. His friends and family encourage him along the way. His friendship with Toothless is tested again. Sunrise, sunset. The one area I found egregious with respect to adhering to the theme of change is the interactions between Hiccup and the film's villain Grimmel. Never mind his lack of uniqueness making him a meh-ish character, but his philosophies ring hollow in the film's context and don't do anything except reaffirm what we already know. The Burkeans and the dragons have a close-knit bond, formed from the erasure of short-sighted and misinformed prejudices. We got it memorized. We don't need to be informed of that again. And also note that these philosophies are raised towards Hiccup, the last person to be convinced to have his mind changed about his attitude on dragons. Yes, the whole idea is to create a rift between the humans and dragons, but the way this David Bowie reject goes about it is both rehashed and ineffective. At least with the romance between Toothless and the Light Fury, it tests the friendship between Hiccup and Toothless, gives both of them a chance to grow as characters, and is uncharted territory for them. Pro tip for up-and-coming screenwriters and authors: if you're gonna write a complex and challenging villain, make sure that the cases they raise have an iota of credibility. Make sure that they don't just challenge the hero's perspectives, but also the audience's perspectives. It's why the likes of Killmonger from Black Panther and Thanos from Infinity War are great villains, and why the likes of Grimmel are just middle of the road. Not the fault of the character, so much as it is the film's fault for being stagnant in one specific area. How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World is a stunning effort by DreamWorks Animation, made even more impressive with it being the first DreamWorks Animation film distributed by Universal after the acquisition in 2016. The series trademarks solid world building, likable characters, vibrant animation, and simple but rich storytelling are stronger here than they've ever been. And they lend to an impressive conclusion that will solidify the series' status as a great modern classic. But the film's ambition does hamper itself just a smidge, leaving a few aspects in the dust as it ramps up all others. Still in all, there couldn't have been a better conclusion to an amazing series. I award How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World a score of 4 out of 5. More to the point about the DreamWorks buyout from Universal, people dreaded this decision back in its sales pitch phase. They decried it as the end of DreamWorks as we know it, or DreamWorks just sold themselves to the devil for $3 billion. With Universal's ownership of Illumination and Illumination CEO Chris Meledandri overseeing DreamWorks operations, doing little to quell these worries and even aggravating them. The quality of The Hidden World should serve as an indication that jumping the gun is a premature thing to do, and that DreamWorks is capable of a quality product in spite of the corporation that bought it. I loved How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World. It's a great film, and this gives me faith that the Universal era of DreamWorks will not be that bad. I'm sorry, what? Trolls and The Boss Baby are both getting sequels in the next 2 years. Oy vey. Until the next video, I'm the one and only CR Martin, and I'll see you guys later. Ciao for now.